Jofo in the ring, and yes, my name is Frank Jofo, and we have a special guest, the crazy PCP Crazy Manny. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, brother? You finally got me.
I finally reeled you in, and you know what? I'm happy I did, because this weekend we have a big event for Seasons Beatings. IWS is back for the big event at the Olympia again. And I remember the last time I was at Olympia, it was a sold-out crowd. Are we close to a sold-out crowd, or will we be a sold-out crowd this weekend?
We're very close. IWS shows is very, very hard because the majority of our ticket sales are always done the week before the show.
Okay.
So it's always crazy. I'd say we're at about 70%, 75% right now.
Okay.
So, but I mean, we're actually higher than where we were at the last time at the same time.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's very, very, like, I mean, we're way beyond where we were for Suzuki. So and Suzuki was sold out, and we're way beyond that. So it's we have very, very last minute fans, but we're used to that. So we're expecting once again a sold out crowd. We've sold more tickets than we have with the previous Olympia show at this time, and being that Jay White is there, being that Lance Serrato is there, it's we're looking at 100% sellout by next Saturday for sure.
I'm excited to see Jay White. I've never seen him live before. I've heard a lot of great things about him in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I've seen him on AEW as well. He's part of the Bullet Club. This is the first time he's ever been on IWS.
Yes,
White, right?
it is. It's the first time he's ever been to Montreal. I believe he wrestled once in Toronto previously, years and years ago, for Smash, I believe. But since he's blown up and he's become IWGP champion, it's the first time he's been anywhere in Canada. So it's pretty cool. He was supposed to be doing another show in Canada as well, but that show, unfortunately, I heard got canceled.
Okay. So
this will probably be the only time in the next year that anyone will see him in Canada. So it's a great opportunity for us. It's good because we have a great reputation with New Japan and AEW because of, you know, so many IWS guys being there, you know, from local guys to guys that were with us to guys like Jeremy to, so we have a really, really good relationship with them. And Suzuki had such a good time that New Japan hit us up, and it's official. And another thing, I'll give you guys a scoop on your podcast that I haven't even put online yet. Is I'll be making a mega announcement this Saturday at Seasons Beatings concerning unfucking sanctioned 2023, something that again has never been done in Canada and will happen for the first time, and it's going to be huge. So, and if you want to find out what it is, you have to be at the show. But it'll be the biggest thing we've done so far. So it's definitely going to be cool. And nobody knows that yet. You're finding out first. So
wow, that's great to hear. Is it going to be the Bell Center? Who knows?
Well, no. You know, a lot of people. You know, a lot of people have come to us over the years, and if I go from like Manny, like the wrestling fan and the promoter, to like the business guy, I've honestly looked at Place Bell and the Bell Center several times, and it for a wrestling promotion, it's just not doable, because you go from, you know, like if you want to throw numbers out there, from like an event that costs, if we're looking like Olympia style event, you know, something that costs mid 5 figures to completely put on, like mid low to mid 5 figures to put on, to like Place Bell, you're looking at spending at least $100K to $150K.
Wow.
Yeah, Bell Center, you're looking at almost $200K. Trust me, I've wanted to do it so many times, you know, just for the satisfaction of saying we're the first to do it.
Yeah.
But it is almost something impossible. Maybe for the 25th anniversary, who knows? You know,
hey, you never know what the future might hold for the IWS.
Exactly,
but so far so good. I'm excited for this Saturday. But let's bring it back to when you walked into Dawson College. Tell me what you were feeling. Were you already a wrestling fan when you walked into Dawson College?
Yeah, like it was pretty funny. It was it all went down with I was friends with someone named Nick Patterson, who I went to high school with.
Okay.
And we had been, we were working at the same place, and we were working at the same place, and there was a gymnasium there, and there was gym mats there, and we used to practice wrestling all the time. And one of our friends, a mutual friend of ours, was telling us that he knew a guy named Eddie Darzowski, who was also a big wrestling fan, and who went to Dawson, and who was interested in putting on a wrestling event. And it just so happened, I was at Wally's Pub for my birthday, I believe it was my 22nd birthday. 22nd or 23rd birthday. And that Matt Silver guy was like, hey, I was there with Nick. He's like, hey, that Eddie guy's here. And we met. And he's like, yeah. He's like, we're looking at doing a show at Dawson College. Are you interested? And I'm like, of course we're interested, And at the time, it's so crazy because, we had the people at Dawson had hired a wrestling promotion to basically put on this show, which was NCW, with the deal that some of the students can take part in the show.
Oh, wow.
And nobody told them that these students were a bunch of psychos and were planning on going to the ring and pulling out barbed wire and thumbtacks and tables, and like they never expected that in a million years. So we go out there and we all put on these matches, and we have these fights, and got pro wrestling banned from Dawson College forever. And got told at the time by the people who were hired to put on that show that we would never, ever, ever make it in the wrestling business. And it's basically, that's why WWS, which became IWS, started, was because we left Dawson, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do now? And we were in Wally's Pub, and there was 4 cement poles that would hold up the walls of Wally's Pub that were exactly 14 by 14 feet apart.
Oh,
and I was like, what if we drill holes and put turnbuckles in those walls and put up ropes and put a gym mat on the ground? And I started putting on our own show, and people were like, you guys are crazy. And we did it. And, the first event drew more than most local promotions draw now, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually, the people that started with me moved on to either focus more on wrestling or focus on other things in life. And I kind of took over and took the company and just brought it to where we are now. And Shane Hawk came in about, I don't even remember. He started working at our first wrestling school with us maybe 7-8 years ago when I opened the first IWS Pro Wrestling Dojo. So he came in to work as an instructor, and he became a partner in the school. And he ended up taking place of where the other guys were years ago, helping me with the events. And we have an awesome team. He takes care of talent and booking, and our wrestling school, I take care of IWS, the live events and production. We have a great crew. We have great students, and it just makes such an amazing show.
Well, you know what? I see the students coming up from the ranks and when they started, and to see them now, and the one of the best examples is Melanie Havoc. Now she's a women's champion now. How proud are you to see her as your champion in IWS right now?
Well, I mean, I was just having this conversation with someone today. Like, Melanie Havoc doesn't get the respect she deserves, because a lot of people don't know this. Melanie Havoc came through the circuit in Quebec, and I mean, she had a rough time. She, every single person who promised to make her a fully trained wrestler, or elevate her, or book her on events, this and that, all these people kind of just used her or lied to her and tried to get money out of her. And eventually she found her way to our school. And it goes to show, when you have a good team around you, you have people that genuinely care about you and want you to succeed. You have a school that has its own promotion, which happens to be the biggest one in the country, that wants you to wrestle. You learn. The talent was always there. The drive was always there.
Yeah.
And she just needed the right people around her. And, look at her now. She's a women's champion. And I mean, look how she won that world title,
Yeah.
against Veda Scott, Ruby Soho, and Christera, in front of 1,500 people at Olympia. What better thing can you ask for,
Yeah. And we've also had Melanie Havoc on the show, obviously, as well. We've had Christara. Christara is on the way too, as well. The big match this Saturday for the IWS Women's Championship. 2 students going at it for the title. I know you're a little bit, you can be a little bit biased here, but who do you think is going to pull off that match this Saturday for the women's?
Oh man, I don't know. I try to stay out of it. All our girls are way too tough. I don't want to get involved. Whoever wins deserves it. But like, just like mentioning Christera, another person that came to the IWS Pro Wrestling. I remember she messaged me online, and it's when you deal with people in the pro wrestling business, it's always cool because I mean, just like you have a podcast. You basically know everyone in Quebec who is around the wrestling scene. If you don't know them personally, you've seen them online. So when I have total strangers, people who know nothing about Quebec wrestling, which is what I'd say 75% of the people that come out of our dojo now are people who had no involvement in Quebec wrestling. Had never even been to a Quebec wrestling show, didn't know it existed. They were actually, WWE and AEW fans who heard about us because of our guys that are there now. When she first messaged me, I was like, okay. I was like, this girl with these tattoos and the dreads and and she came to our school and she was tough and this and that. And I was like, man, all right, well, let's see what we got here. And she's just, all I can say about that girl is, it's her age, her level, her look, her athleticism. Like, people in Quebec should appreciate her because within a year or two, she'll be in AEW or WWE 100%. So take advantage of what she's here. Yeah.
I agree with that, man. She's on her way right now.
Yeah.
Another great wrestler that's on television right now. He's the former X Division champion, your former IWS champion, Speedball Mike Bailey. How happy were you to see him get a contract for Impact Wrestling? And if I'm not mistaken, he signed this contract on the back of Josh Alexander,
yeah.
On an event in Canada. So how happy were you for him when that happened?
I was really happy because me and Speedball, a lot of people don't know we're very, very, very close. Like we've had similar family issues with sick parents that we had to take care of. We grew up the same way. At the time when it happened with me, it was during the pandemic, and he came back. He came back home during the pandemic to stay in Canada after being in Japan for so long. And he basically I had moved to Laval to take care of a sick parent, and he lived in Laval, and he would pick me up every day, and we'd go train at the dojo because all gyms were closed and everything. So we just go work out as two buddies together, and he kind of took control of the dojo with Shane Hawk, and his love of training people is so genuine, and he wants to see his students, our students, him and Shane Hawk's students succeed so much that it's crazy. Like the Speedball Mike Bailey. If you ask me who the most genuine person in pro wrestling in the last 23 years that I met is, the one person that I cannot say one bad thing about, it would be Speedball Mike Bailey. I've heard, legitimately, I am not making this up, I have heard Speedball Mike Bailey use the F word once in my life, and I've known him for a decade, over a decade. It's crazy, and yeah, I'm very proud of him, especially considering how he signed with NXT during the pandemic and got released before ever even going there. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this. I'll give you another scoop. We secretly had, because in order for Speedball to get signed, because it was the pandemic, WWE they were very, very concerned about wrestlers still being in shape after not wrestling for a year and a half because there was no live events. So he had a match at our wrestling school against Thomas Dubois, and I believe he also had one against Zach Patterson as a rookie. And of course, all measures were followed. We had permission to do it. There was no crowd there. There was just me and a camera. But we filmed these matches and sent them to WWE, and he actually got signed by NXT from, I can't say who, but I'm assuming Paul, Triple H and William Regal, watching these matches taking place at our dojo during the pandemic, just to see if someone is still in shape and still able to work. And, wow. Nobody knew this happened. And it's, we're going to, you know how the wrestling business is. Everybody claims to have connections, and everybody claims I work with WWE, I work with AEW, and
I know this guy, I know that guy.
Yeah, but you like the truth is, if you do work with them, you're not allowed to talk about it.
Okay.
So, that's the thing I tell people. If you're saying I work with WWE, you're not. They don't want you talking about it. They're doing this quietly, and they tell you can't. So it's like, there's a little hint, people, if you want to join a wrestling school and everything like that. Usually, the people talking all this shit about their connections, usually they're the ones that aren't being honest with people, because unless the WWE puts you on their website, that's it. So like this happened at the wrestling school. He got signed and then he got released without ever even leaving Canada and setting foot there. So to be signed by Impact was just, I was really happy. I was really happy for him, and he's got a great deal with them. And as you see, man, he loves to come back to Canada. He loves to push the IWS. He's so happy for our students. To this day, I'll be honest with you, he works so close with booking with Shane Hawk. We send him our cards, and he goes over them and he makes suggestions. And he's like, even if he's not at the shows, that's how much he loves pro wrestling.
Oh, wow. Wow. It shows that, like you said, it shows that he loves wrestling. And you know what? I always love going to IWS shows, knowing that he's on the card. It's always a great match. Yeah. For me, it's scarred for life now. At the last event at the Olympia, there was a lot of injuries that happened. I know that Daddy Magic from 2.0 was injured as well, and there was something that happened in your match. Can you explain to us what happened in your match?
Well, it was fans are the weapons match, so it's a very, very high risk match, and we're expecting to get cut open and this and that. Unfortunately, when I hit Matthew St. Jacques with a bundle of tubes when he was going for a suicide dive, the bundle of tubes that I grabbed, I mean, you can't, it's nobody's fault. It's just one of those things that happens. When I hit him in the head, the way they broke, the bottom broke in an awkward way and went right into my hand, because they were very, very thin tubes. And I ended up cutting you can't. Maybe you could still see my hand.
We saw it when it happened.
I ended up cutting my hand really, really, to the point where I put my thumb on the cut to stop the bleeding, and my thumb actually entered my hand. It was so deep. So like people saw me taping my hand shut, but it was like
and that was right off. Right, that was right at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, the first minute of the match. Yeah. So it's very, very. When stuff like that happens, it happens and everything. It becomes very hard to perform, because I'm expecting to bleed, and I know I'm going to bleed. I know I'm going to get hit with tubes. I know my back is going to be covered in blood. It's pro wrestling. We're giving off an image. We know what the outcome of that match is going to be. But when you have a very, very bad injury on your hand, and like half of it is hanging off, and you can't feel it anymore, and you can't close it, and my opponent is just as concerned, because even though me and my opponent hate each other, he's looking at me like, "Are you okay? What the fuck?" And the referee is concerned, and the doctors on the side of the ring are concerned, and the techs are concerned, and it's extremely hard to sell when you're supposed to be selling your head or your back for a move you just took, but you're so concerned about your hand because it's like literally you can't feel it anymore. It was rough, but it happens. It was the last match, and what can you do? That's life.
Well, like I'm gonna quote something that I seen on the IWS Instagram page. It says, when we planned my last match as a tag team match, I said there's only one guy I want to partner with, and I get to close out my career with my old partner, Green Phantom. Since you didn't get to tag with Green Phantom, is there a chance there will be one last match for PCP Crazy fucking Manny? I have to ask.
Everybody asks. In pro wrestling, never say never. But for the time being, there's times where like I'm extremely happy to be able to put on shows and not have the stress of a match going on, because you see how big the event is. You can only imagine how much there is to do before and during, and it's very unfair to your opponent too. that, you know, they're supposed to be planning a match with you for hours, and you're running around, and then you go over something 15 minutes, or you plan your match on Facebook 2 days before. So it's unfair to them. But I mean, and it's you never say never, but for right now, I'm very happy not having to worry about having that match, having a match. So.
Years ago, I know you've had some big time wrestlers, tag teams as well, women's wrestlers. Is there one that comes to mind that, wow, you know what, I'd love to get him or her again in the IWS?
Man, it's so crazy. Like I don't, you know, I mean, in a perfect world, and you know, again, never say never. In a perfect world, seeing Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn back in the IWS would be awesome. You know, chances of that happening are slim to none. But you know, with the changes happening in WWE, you never know. In a year or two, maybe that could happen. Just coming in for an appearance for one night. Yeah. I loved having the Bucks when the Bucks wrestled for us. They were amazing.
First TDT, that was a great match.
Yeah. It was really good. It was a really were you there?
I wasn't there, unfortunately. No, I wasn't there.
The live atmosphere was incredible. It was insane. You know, I mean, Kevin Nash came in. He was so much fun. You know, he was at the end of his career, so he just wanted to teach us. You know, you have this guy who's like, you know, who's at the end of his career. He's a multi-millionaire movie star, and he's backstage and he's chatting with us. And this was years ago. This is like 15 years ago. We're still fucking kids essentially, and he's talking to us like, you know, like we're in the locker room at Raw. You know, you got to put this in you got to incorporate this in your moveset nowadays. And I think you should you want to go get you want to go get a steak or something. I like a drink. I like to have a good, he's a really, really, really good guy. Rey Mysterio Jr., probably one of the, like, of all the people we ever brought in, like the big names, Rey Jr. was probably the coolest human being I ever met. He was a really nice guy. Like another little scoop story that not many podcasts have heard and not many people in the public have heard was Ray was wrestling in New York City the day before. He wrestled the Friday night in New York City the day before he was going to wrestle at unsanctioned at MTELUS, which then was Metropolis. And this was the first time we were ever running Metropolis, which was a really big deal because no wrestling fed, I think, in Canada had ever run a place that big. Maybe, you know, if you remove ROH, no wrestling fed in North America had, like Indie Fed, had run a place that big. Yeah. And I mean, Ray Jr., he had only been gone from WWE for 3 months, and he was going to be back at WWE a month later. Yeah. So it was a really, really big deal to have him. And he wrestled in New York City the night before, and he had forgotten his passport.
Oh no!
And you can't cross the border with your passport. And he because he's of Mexican descent, because he was born in Mexico and he's a dual citizen. He had something called an enhanced driver's license, which Canadian customs will accept if you drive to Canada, but not by plane. So Rey Mysterio called me the night before the show, and he goes, "You know what, Manny?" He goes, "I don't want to screw up your event. Conan told me it's your 40th birthday," because it was my 40th birthday event. He goes, "Conan, I don't want to screw up your birthday." He's like, I talked to Kevin Owens. I talked to a few people in WWE, and they told us how big this is, you know, how big it is for you guys to run that venue, how it's never been done. He's like, Matt, it's so cool. He's in the car with Matt Hardy, and he's like, Matt Hardy's dropping me off at a car rental place. I'm renting a car, and I'm going to drive all night to Montreal. So he drove. So Rey Mysterio drove all night on no sleep to Montreal to come wrestle for us, and I stayed on the phone with him all night to keep him awake because I was so worried that he was going to fall asleep. You know, and this stuff sounds so outlandish, but it's true. You know, it's like I kept texting him, I kept calling him back. You know, it's like 3:30 in the morning. You know, 3:30 in the morning, and I'm on the phone with Rey Mysterio Jr. You know. At the time, I had family in from Greece, so I was staying in Laval, helping them out. There was like all our family was in, so I was staying in Laval. So I was staying at my parents' house. So I'm like on a hide-a-bed, talking to Rey Mysterio Jr., you know, talking about life and wrestling. You know, someone I've never met before, never saw. It was crazy, and he came here and he did that for the fans, which is unreal. You know, to be here, he could have. He could have just, he's a superstar. He could have just said, "Sorry, man, it didn't work out."
Yeah. And you know what? That match there, as I rewatched it millions of times for obvious reasons, for our good friend Jeremy Prophet winning the title that night. And we had a Speedball Mike Bailey heel run at that time too, which is pretty interesting if no one knew that as well. Where did your name come from? PCP fucking Crazy Manny come from?
It was a joke when I was a kid. We used to party. We used to party a lot, and I used to have like all our friends. I grew up in Two Mountains, and everybody used to do like ecstasy and PCP and everything like that. People used to call me it as a joke. And when I started wrestling, because it was a nickname as a joke when I was super young, I mean, we're teenagers, So because it was a nickname, I was like, everybody used to call me that when I was a teenager, and I was trying to figure out ways to make it work, like pretty crazy person or pretty psycho person or this and that. And it was really just so when we announced our first show, it was only supposed to be Crazy Manny. It was so when we announced our first show on the radio, because at the time people listened to the radio, there was wrestling radio shows, and podcasts didn't exist at the time. We did it just to for the reason of of people knowing who I was, because I had so many friends. And it's hilarious because of that, the Green Phantom was listening to the radio, and he's like, "That can't be Manny from Two Mountains." But no, it has to be, because who else would be called that, And the rest is history. It just stuck.
What goes through your head when you go through a death match? And you look around the facility to see what I could jump off of, what I could smash my head over of. What's the process that goes through your head? Because I've seen you jump off many things before in professional wrestling. So what goes through your head going through that process?
Living in Montreal, like almost all the venues we run, we've gone to concerts there before and stuff. So it's like, Montreal's an entertainment city. There's no other city in Canada that's like Montreal when it comes to entertainment and everything. So like the fact that like from the days at the Medley to Scratch Laval we had hung out at these places so many times before we ever wrestled there, that before we even thought about having shows there, that we always like used to be like, imagine doing something, taking a bump off that, or imagine if we did this, or and then of course when you do it the first time, you have to top it. You have to figure out different ways. So it's like you always have to figure out a new way to do it. And the spots too, like when you watch a lot of wrestling, I'm sure you had the Green Phantom on, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I'm sure he brought this up because this is the point we always make when it comes to the hardcore stuff and the death matches. There's death matches that happen all over the States, and there's insane things, man. People sticking syringes into their faces and the skewers but the one thing we wanted to avoid in the IWS was like, I don't want a death match where two guys just stab each other in the head for like 20 minutes. It's boring, it's lame, it's not special. We want to do something where you have the crazy wild IWS matches with all the high spots and all the big moves, and you incorporate all the glass and all the weapons in them. And that's why they're so crazy, and that's why they're so explosive and so wild. And like when we did what was I gonna say? When we would do Feuds Bring the Weapons, one of the main reasons why it's always a tag match or a four-way dance is because with the multi-men in it, you're able to do so much. Like this Feuds Bring the Weapons match with Matthew St. Doc, it was the first time it was ever a one-on-one. We've never done a one-on-one. Wow. Yeah. And it became a one-on-one the day before when Thomas tested positive for COVID.
Yes.
So it was like, this was, we like, everything was set up to go wrong with that match. like to tell you the truth, we shouldn't have even had it. It was set up to fail. Well,
I spoke to JT Producer and Matt Viviani. Yeah. They were telling me that even their match might have had a chance to been canceled because of things that were out of their hands too. So we'll talk about that later. But continue.
Yeah. So that's it. So like it was so last minute. And it's like, I feel bad for my opponent too, because he's a tag team wrestler, and this is the first time he's ever having a death match. Yeah. And we just went from you know, plan A to, okay, well, we're going to have to plan this whole thing. And you know, Matthew St. Jacques is probably my favorite opponent of all time. I've
He's a
wrestled him several
savage.
times,
He's a
one-on-one and in
savage.
tag matches. I love him. I've known him since he was super young. He's a genuinely good dude. Like in real life, there's a lot of, you know, you're in the wrestling business. There's a lot of people that they might be good wrestlers, but they're not good people. You know,
Yeah,
this guy, he's a good one. You know, I
yeah.
put him on the same level. I put him on the same level as a Speedball Mike Bailey, as
Oh
a
wow.
Shane Hawk, as a Green Phantom. You know, he's a genuine friend. You know, and yeah. There's so much went wrong, and like you said, with Matt Viviani and JT Producer, you know, the same thing with their matches. Things changed around so many times. There was so many things beyond our control. You have to get certain things approved by other
Yeah.
companies when you're bringing in AEW talent and everything, you know. And
Well,
luckily,
for your match, it was a great story, because it was a culmination of, I think it was two events that you guys were going at it, and this was the culmination of it.
yeah,
And
it was
we
over a
didn't
year.
get to
It
see
started. Yeah,
that payoff, you know. So
yeah, it started. It had been happening for a long time,
yeah,
even longer than two events. But yeah, it was supposed to be a big payoff. Like I said, you never know. You never know what could happen. Right now, I have no plans. I don't want people out there to think I'm an announcer return. That's not happening.
is that the announcement, or I don't
No, no,
know?
no. That is not happening. No, no, that is not happening. But you know, you never say never in pro wrestling. You know, everybody says that. Right now, I'm very, very content where I am. I like to focus more on putting on events. I like to make our events look really good. I think that's the difference between IWS and every other indie out there. You watch a lot of indie pro wrestling, and you can agree that, you know, production-wise, IWS is on another level. You know, and
You guys are untouchable right now. That's for sure.
yeah, you
That's
know,
for sure.
like the cameras we use, the equipment we use, the broadcast equipment we use, the lighting, the sound. Like
Yeah.
I really, it's a hobby of mine. It's something I really like. I like to make things look different. I like to make things look cinematic. I like to make them look professional. So, you know, and I find that, you know, there's a lot of promotions in Canada that always sell out. They draw big crowds. Uh, but IWS is by far the company that looks the best, has the best production, has some of the best wrestling. And we are also, like, if you look at Canadian wrestling, we run in a city where, you know, I mean, now not so much, but at the time
Before.
there were so many wrestling companies happening. And
Oh yeah.
actually, Pat LaPrade said it best. Like, we're not competing with Canadian indie wrestling. We're beyond that. We're
I like
competing
it.
with the Montreal entertainment scene, you know,
I
because
like
there's
that.
so much to do in Montreal.
Yeah.
Downtown Montreal is like a city like no other, you know. So to be able, like, you know, I give this comparison a lot. Like, uh, how many local acts do you see sell at MTELUS 4 or 5 times in a year? Let alone play MTELUS.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
nobody, you know.
Yeah.
There's nobody, you know. Like, you look at some of the best rock bands in Montreal, like from Montreal, like if they play MTELUS once, like, you know, Arcade Fire, the biggest band to ever come out of Montreal, plays MTELUS once every 2 years. You know,
Yeah.
we sell it out 5 times a year. You know, it's people don't look at it like that. It's
Yeah.
something really crazy. And the fact that we put on such a giant show with such high production values for $25, it's something no one can compete with. You know.
That's for sure. That's for sure. I always wanted to ask you: is there a method or a strategy to get hit or hit somebody with a light tube, or is there a proper way to do it? Because
Swing as
like
hard
you,
as you can.
like you
Swing.
said, there's a lot of people out there, and
Yeah,
there was Joey Janela, and Joey Janela had a skewer in his mouth
yeah,
and
yeah.
drinking blood like Sexy
What?
Eddie did in the death
Yeah,
match years ago. And so,
yeah.
how is that process?
When you hit someone with light tubes, you want to hit them as hard as you can, so they explode, so it explodes into as many little pieces as you can.
Okay.
You know, it's swing with every ounce of energy you have, because it's going to shatter into tiny, tiny little pieces and cut you the least. When you hit someone and it doesn't break properly, you get the result of what happened to my hand. You know,
Okay.
it becomes a knife, not a light tube. So it's that's the trick with light tubes. And it's funny because, like, we're the first guys to ever use them in Canada. So So, now everybody does it, but we were the first guys to ever use it. So I'm the first guy to take a light tube bump in Canada. So I was the
There
first
you
guy
go.
when I got thrown into those tubes in a corner about
Oh
15,
God.
16 years ago, I was like, ooh, you know. So it's like, it's something else. We learned the hard way.
I know there's a lot of politics in professional wrestling, but is there ever talks or a chance that you guys come wrestle with another company in Canada or in the United States and bring IWS on the road one day?
You know, in terms of Canadian indie wrestling, it's really hard. Like in Quebec, I'd say, we did some joint events with NSPW. It went really well. It's just we have a very different product. We have very different fans as well. NSPW runs in Quebec City. They're the only federation in town. So the people that come to their show, it's kind of like C4 as well. There's wrestling fans that go to the show, but there's also people that go there because it's the only thing to do. Whereas our fans are like. Our fans are expecting an incredibly wild show. We set the bar very, very high with what we do. So it's hard to work with companies here. And like you said, there's a lot of politics. We're not going to get into it because it'll ruin the podcast.
No.
It's like that in everything.
Yeah,
it can be a very toxic business. That's why I like us to keep to ourselves and just do our own thing. But I mean, never say never. There's always chances of incredible things that can happen in pro wrestling.
You've had there's a lot of IWS former wrestlers that are in AEW right now. The ones that come up to mind: Evil Uno 2.0. Evil Uno was at the last event, replacing Daddy Magic. And you know what? A lot of people have asked me, will we get to see 2.0 one more time in IWS in the future?
I think there's a good chance that'll happen. I know Matt Menard is Daddy Magic is he wanted to be there more than anything. Up until the day of, we were talking. He was genuinely upset. These guys had sorry, my cat had his paw stuck in a chair. I was like, do I go save you, buddy? He was genuinely disappointed. He does want to come back. They love Montreal. They love the IWS. These are two guys that care about wrestling in Montreal. I think there's a good possibility they'll be back. I don't know when. I don't know when they'll be back. They have a very tight schedule. But I know they want to come back. And I mean, who knows? Who knows what will be happening within the next year? Like the same with Evil Uno. He's a great friend. Another person that came up, made his name, before C4 even existed, made his name in IWS, as well as Stu, and great guys. We love to have them. I love having Evil Uno. He's just such a solid dude. He's such a happy man. He just enjoy living life, enjoying life. It's good to have positive people like that around you. So you never know. It's funny because it comes in phases. New Japan was very happy with I'm assuming Suzuki was very happy with Montreal, and New Japan was very happy with the way things worked. And one of the good things about being IWS is that we've been around for so long. Somebody sent me a video from a party the other day after an indie show in the States where there's a very famous indie wrestler, and he sent me a video message, and he was going, he's like, people don't realize that you guys are right now the oldest running indie fed in North America. We've been around before ROH existed. You
guys were in the DVD era.
Yeah, we were in the VHS. We were pre-DVD, buddy. We were in the VHS days. We've been around since 1999. Actually, since 1999. So, 23 years. We're gonna be 24 years in March. We've been around for a long, long time, and because of that, and because of all the people that have come through, and no matter that, it's wrestling. A lot of people will talk negatively about us, but because of all that, our reputation is so solid, and so many big names have worked for us that companies want to send their people because they know their people will get paid. They know their people will work against people that are talented, and they know it'll work well. And all it takes, is like, I'll give you an example. Zach Patterson going against Jay White. There's two things I'm going to say on that. One, New Japan, somebody is wrestling their IWGP heavyweight champion. They need to know who's wrestling, and they want to know way before. That's why it took so long for the match to be announced.
Okay.
And they know who Zach Patterson is, and people spoke to them about Zach Patterson. Okay. From I'm not going to say who, but people who know him, who have worked with him, who trained him. They let them know, okay, well, obviously Speedball Mike Bailey's one of them, there's no secret he trained. And, he got approved. And there's a reason why he's going in there. And a lot of people are saying that he's young, he's not ready.
Yeah, but, I've seen that online that he's not ready for this match. He's a little too young for it. Maybe he's not ready for it. But
well, a lot of people, like, I put this online when I saw it about, I'd say 20 years ago. Yeah, just about 20 years ago, we were helping Mark the Grizzly. We were co-hosting an event with Mark the Grizzly called New Year's Madness. Okay. And no, it was Midsummer Madness. Okay. And he brought in Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe was wrestling a rookie who was wrestling about as long as Zach Patterson, okay. Who was smaller than Zach Patterson, who was less muscular than Zach Patterson. And they were ripping this guy apart. Samoa Joe was the then ROH World Champion. They were ripping this guy apart online, saying he was too small. He wasn't ready. He did deserve the match. It should have been against an older Quebec wrestler. And that person was Kevin Steen. And I mean, this is a true story. That person was Kevin Steen. And Kevin went out there, and him and Samoa Joe tore the fucking house down.
Wow.
And we all know how Kevin Steen, where Kevin Steen is now. So, people can say what they want. But, trust the judgment of the people that train this guy, that work with him every week, and that approve this match. He's ready to go, and he's going to tear the house down. So
I know what I think. Zach deserves it. He's put in the work the last year and change. So I think he deserves this big moment against Jay White. Someone else that's coming to mind I think he's making his comeback in IWS. I haven't seen him in a while. Bucks Belmar.
Yep. Bucks,
what's going on with him?
Yeah, Bucks. Bucks had several injuries over the years. Mm-hmm. Former IWS champion, got married, started a family. Put life's priorities first. Put real life first. And finally, he's ready to come home. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have him come back home. To tell you the truth, there's a picture. I'm going to find it and send it to you. One of my favorite wrestling pictures we took, and not many people know this happened. When Guns N' Roses, one of the biggest rock bands in the world, played at Parc Jean-Drapeau in front of 50,000 people a few years ago, IWS was hired by Heavy Montreal to put on a wrestling show in the line. Yeah, while people were waiting in line. And Bucks Belmar wrestled Evil Uno in the main event, and they wrestled into the St. Lawrence River. And there's a picture because I followed them into the St. Lawrence River with a camera, and they're fighting in the St. Lawrence River. And I took a picture of them from behind them, where the beach is just lined up with like 50,000 people in line, watching them fight in the water, getting ready to watch Guns N' Roses. And it was wild. It was wild. And I'm happy to have him back. He's another genuine cool dude.
Yeah.
Fun dude, put real life first. He had, I'm not going to get into his personal life, but he had some, a lot of us all had tough times during COVID, and family wise and everything. And it's good to see that he's doing well and he's back. I'm very happy for him.
If somebody wants to join and become a professional wrestler in Montreal, what's the process behind it with the IWS dojo?
So the IWS Pro Wrestling Dojo, we just moved to a new facility in Montreal North. We're going to be having a grand opening soon. People have seen the clips and videos online.
Yeah.
This is our 5th or 6th facility. It's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. This one is now over 6,000 square feet.
Wow.
We have a full gym with some of the best equipment, specialty equipment in the world. Like the equipment we have is, this is equipment on the same level as the WWE Performance Center. It's stuff no other commercial gym in Quebec has, let alone a wrestling school in Canada has. What we do is we run classes Tuesdays and Thursday nights between 8 and 10 p.m. and we have a match class on Sundays between 1 to 3 p.m. We're going to be actually adding more classes now that we have a bigger facility. If people want to become a pro wrestler, it's really simple. You go to the IWS Training Center Facebook page and you send us a message. You come in, the first class is free. You see what it is, you see if it's for you, and then you sign up. And most people are ready to get to be in a ring after 6 months. A lot of people it takes a bit longer. A lot of people it's faster. A lot of people stay. A lot of people have been with us 2 or 3 years because they just like the rates drop once you've actually started wrestling. They like having a place to practice and train, which is something important because the only way you're going to get good at wrestling is by wrestling. So if you have somewhere where you can wrestle 3 times a week and practice, that's how you're going to get good. And a lot of the issues with a lot of other places that train you, like I'll say the difference. The difference is we own the IWS Wrestling School is owned by the IWS. We want you to be on a show. We want to get you ready, and we want you to wrestle for us. Because we're growing. We plan on going even longer. We want you in a ring at our show. We want you to become a superstar with us and then move on to the indie scene. So from the first day you join our wrestling school, you're in the ring. A lot of places don't let you in a ring for months and months and months. I think that's completely ridiculous. How are you going to learn to wrestle in a ring if you're not in the ring from day one? But, that's everybody has their own way of teaching, to each their own. Our school speaks for itself. The people that train people there and the people that have come out of our school, it just goes to show itself. I don't have to hype it up. We all know.
Yeah, we all know that for sure.
Yeah.
While we're winding down here, I would have to bring up one of my favorite IWS wrestlers, the Green Phantom. He's going to be fighting Lufisto for the Canadian title. Is this the first time they're fighting each other in the IWS?
Yeah, in a singles match, it is the first time. It is the first time they're wrestling each other. I love the Green Phantom. He's a tough dude, but he's in for a rough night because I've wrestled Lufisto in a death match, and she beat the living shit out of me, man. She did not hold back. She did not hold back. She's one tough woman, man. And if you think the Green Phantom is going to take it easy on Lufisto because she's a woman, that is not going to happen, because I guarantee you from the moment she hits him, he's going to be like, oh, okay, so it's like that, right? Okay. She hits hard and she goes all in and she can take it. So it's going to be a really great match. I think it's going to be awesome. So
Lindsay Dorado as well will be in Montreal too, and Vanessa Craven
makes a return. Yes,
yeah, she makes a return. Yeah, we're excited about that. Can you talk to us about that too as well?
Yeah, I've wanted to bring her back for so long. We were waiting for her to be ready. Another person who I love it when people are professionals, and Vanessa Craven, professional. She's done it all as a women's wrestler. She should be in the WWE if she didn't get hurt. And she took her time. She didn't rush it. She's ready to come back. She's having fun. She's enjoying it. She's probably better now than she was before. She came, she trained, and like I tell people, man, it doesn't matter how long you've wrestled for. There was at the end of the pandemic, there was a whole lot of people coming in secretly to the IWS dojo on Sundays, legally, before anybody criticizes me, coming in and practicing and staying in shape and getting back in shape and making sure they knew how to wrestle. And, it was hard for a lot of people. There was a lot of good bonding. It was very good for a lot of people's morale and mental health as well. We all went through tough times during the pandemic. I'm going off subject a little bit, but it's, it was everybody. I think it was good for everybody to kind of, a little bit of toxicity left in those last months of the pandemic. People started training together again. People started becoming happy again. And going back to Vanessa Craven, she's ready to return. She came by. She trained a few times. A lot of people are actually doing that. And I'm really excited for her to be back. Lindsay Dorado, we all know who he is.
Yeah,
I'm super stoked about this. He's been around forever. He's worked with a lot of our guys. The timing was right, and he's coming in, and he's with Jay White coming in as the IWGP champion. The Lindsay Dorado announcement was kind of like didn't get as much credit as it deserves. I think he's going to put on the performance of the night that night. I think this guy's going to go all out. I think it's going to be fucking special, man. You know, it's going to be a great night of wrestling. Like, you know, it's already going to be a big crowd from what we've sold in advance. I know it's going to be even bigger. We're going to look, we've sold out every show. So, you know, we're going to sell out again. You know, with the card we have, we're going to sell out again. Every IWS show in the last year every post-pandemic show is sold out. Yes, Olympia is the biggest venue, but it's going to sell out again. So you should buy your tickets fast. Like I said, 70% of them are already gone. And, you know, the day of our last event, we sold 450 tickets on the day of the last event. So, you know,
I remember that line in the front there.
Yeah, it was unreal, man.
Yeah,
it was unreal.
Massive.
Yeah, so it's like people need to come to this event if you want to close out the year with a wild wrestling event. We always go all out. People already know. I don't even have to say it. You know, I had at our last event when we brought in Suzuki, so many new fans came. People came from New Brunswick. People came in from Toronto, and they were like, "Wow." They're like,
people
we've never seen anything.
Out. Like, how did these guys get this guy? And we're like, I don't know. I go, you have to come and watch and see for yourself, you know?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's the show. And, you know, like, it's like, people were like, oh, why are you doing it at Unity? I'm like, you know, like, again, when we talk about wrestling, I'm like, we had a show booked at Unity already. And then Suzuki, I got the opportunity to bring in Suzuki. And you know what? Suzuki costs a lot of money, just like Jay White. No other person would have run that. If they couldn't get a bigger venue, they wouldn't have run that event. But us, because I called every venue in the city. I said, I need something bigger. There was nothing available. And people were like, you're crazy. You're going to do this for 400 people? You know,
that's your middle name, right? PCP
yeah. Well, that's it. You know, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to do it. We have to do it. That's what I said. We have to do it. This has never been done in Canada. Who gives a fuck if we have a small venue and we're not going to make money? It has to be done. And you know what I told people? If you're going to see Suzuki wrestle, what better way to see him within inches from your face at Unity, sweat flying on you.
Fucking loud in there.
Look at that atmosphere. You know, it's wild. And that's what we do, man. That's what we do. That's what makes it special. The one line I always close every podcast and I tell everybody about, IWS isn't about the wrestling. It's about the fucking atmosphere. That's what it's about. And that's what'll set us apart from every company ever, you know?
Well, winding down, let us know where we could find yourself and the IWS on social media so everyone could join in on this journey.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at PCP Crazy FN Manny. But most of our stuff goes down on all platforms, every social media platform, IWS Hardcore or IWS Wrestling. You just type in IWS, will come up. It's the history of the IWS is everywhere, so we're very, very easy to find. And this is great. I had fun talking with you, bud.
I really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to ask you: there was if somebody brings in a perishable food item, what's the deal with that? I saw that.
We are having a canned food drive. It's we've done this before. It's the first time we've done it in a while because it is very hard to do. Yeah. But we're doing it because the people of the city of Montreal deserved it. If you bring in a perishable food item, we are entering your name in a draw. At the end of the night, we are giving away a 1-year pass to the IWS. Wow. And I mean, you see the shows we put on, and brother, I'm telling you this, 2023 is the year you want a 1-year pass to the IWS because the stuff we have planned for 2023 is mind blowing. So there's stuff going on that's mind blowing. So it's going to be special.
Perfect, man. You know what? If you haven't gotten your tickets, get your tickets now for this Saturday at the Olympia, IWS. I will be there. Hope to see everyone else there. Manny, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you this Saturday. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen this Saturday.
Thank you so much, brother. We'll talk soon. I got to take this call. Thank you, eh?
All right, man. And remember, wrestling is life.
So, Jofo, I'm a gargle a shot for Kurt Hennig and everybody before we go.
Oh, no.
Jofo, thank you, guys.